Hi guys, and welcome back to Pass and Move. And for today's episode, we're back with another experiment. So, ignoring this little profile picture, I suppose, we're actually going to be focusing again on Manchester United, but this is a bit of a different kind of thing. So basically what we've done is we've basically reinstalled Sir Alex Ferguson as Manchester United manager, and we've also made his age back to sort of his prime age, I suppose, about his 40s, 50s, sort of prime manager age really. And we've given him a go with this Manchester United squad to see whether he could really have done a good job or not. A lot of people say, you know, if Sir Alex Ferguson had this Manchester United squad, he'd walk the league. Jose Mourinho doesn't know what he's doing, he's this, he's that, and all that sort of business. So I wanted to try and find out whether there's any truth to that. And of course, you know, the game doesn't mean it's real, but it's gives us a little bit of more an added edge to the debate, I suppose. Now, just to bear in mind, I'll tell you guys in just a second. Let's try and find Manchester United first and see how they got on. Okay, so they've won the Premier League with 9 points to spare. A really good 92 points, just 2 losses all seasons. Their draws that might have, you know, been a touch too heavy. But otherwise quite well. They've done quite well. Lukaku's their top goal scorer. You know, De Gea with the clean sheets. Nemanja Matic, sorry, with the 13 assists, and Mata's there as well. But really, Matic is the one that's surprising to have that many assists. And yeah, they've done quite well. I mean, 92 points is quite impressive. A lot of the other teams below them have done quite well, relatively speaking, themselves. You'd argue that Arsenal in another season could have potentially won it. Manchester City with Pep Guardiola just about getting into the Champions League spots. So, you know, definitely a good job in terms of how Sir Alex Ferguson's done. Now, of course, some people might be wondering, you know, why even change Sir Alex Ferguson's age? Now, there's a reason to do that, and this is what I wanted to mention earlier. When I just reinstated Sir Alex Ferguson and simmed the game, he actually ended the season, I think, in 5th place or possibly 4th place as well. But basically, he didn't win the title as convincingly as this season. Now, that wasn't the decision why I changed his age. I just thought moving him back to in his prime might be a bit better in a way to see whether it would be more accurate or not. Because, you know, we're just trying to see how he would perform. But the main reason why I did it is because right after I simmed, he still had a desire to retire. And I didn't want that to happen, because just in case I wanted to sim a further season or sort of see how he would improve the squad even further, those type of things. So I just reduced his age to kind of just put him back in his prime and see how he's done. So if we have a look at Alex Ferguson himself, these are his stats. Really good managerial stats as well, but he's got nice little other things such as determination of 20, level of discipline of 90. He's got really good coaching as well. And as a scout, he's quite outstanding too. So, you know, perfectionist personality as well. So apparently his preferred formations are 4-2-3-1 wide, and he's got other little formations here, but I'm assuming that he would have used his preferred formations of 4-2-3-1, which is ironically maybe also Jose Mourinho's formation. So we have a quick look at the main things. I've also disabled the first transfer window, the summer transfer window, so he couldn't, you know, make any changes. He had to deal with his current squad, and you know, wanted to do that to obviously try and keep as realistic as possible. So have a quick look at their transfer history. Bought the likes of Hector Herrera, Pavon, and Jonas. I'm not sure why, but clubs always seem to go for Jonas. 34-year-old Brazilian. He's quite a decent striker and attacking midfielder. In truth, he's a bit of a utility man, but most clubs give him that first team squad status, which is a bit surprising considering his age. And even if he was a utility man, 34 years of age, to invest in him is not that good of a decision, I suppose. But he's highly valued for some weird reason, for a 34-year-old, of course. But he definitely does bring a little something to the squad, and since January he has had a fair few appearances, as much as you'd expect in truth with just half the season left, or even less. So fair play to him, you know, 16 starts, 8 goals, 5 assists, very decent return. They've also brought in Hector Herrera, the central midfielder or / defensive midfielder. We can actually have a quick look and see where he's mostly played. So a bit of both, really. But I think in the game he's more of a natural as a central midfielder, and it must be that Sir Alex Ferguson's retrained him into a defensive midfielder. Also got Jonas, we've already covered, sorry. So Pavon, a winger, He really could do either job. He cuts inside from both wings, so he is a bit of an inside forward, but you'd probably use him on the left for that role. But on the right, if you just use him as an actual winger, he's really good. Plenty of acceleration, pace, crossing, dribbling, all the sort of usual stuff you'd expect of a sort of natural winger. And again, he's also made a fair few appearances, but not as good an impact, you would argue, as Jonas. So in total, 31.5 million in the January transfer window is not bad. He hasn't sold anyone, which is kind of interesting. It looks like he didn't necessarily think the current squad weren't good enough, or he had to get rid of anyone. But a bunch of loans for the youngsters. And in terms of his first team, let's see if there's anyone listed to be transfer listed or anything. So it's just Jones, unhappy, probably with his game time or a new contract. Which one is it? Wants a new contract apparently. Jesse Lingard just wanted. Rojo is the one who's been listed, so he's been considered disposable. They do have a number of centre backs, so it makes sense. And Chris Smalling's requested to leave. So kind of standard stuff, I suppose. If you have a look at the most appearances, De Gea, Sanchez, Mata, Lukaku, Valencia, Matic and Pogba, as well as Daley Blind, all sort of key players for Sir Alex Ferguson. The only interesting one out of this group is pretty much just Blind. You wouldn't have expected him to be a first teamer. Let's have a look at Shaw. Shaw somehow gone or something, but it didn't show that he was gone. There's no way he's left. That is weird. Am I not seeing something here? Okay. Wasn't sold. Michael Carrick's in the under-23s because he's going to retire. Ashley Young's down here as well, listed. And Luke Shaw in the under-23 squad. That's unusual. He's made a couple of appearances for Manchester United, but it looks like Sir Alex Ferguson deems him as a backup, sent him down to the under-23s. And that is shocking. Only 10 appearances as a left back. He's must have played a ton of games. Yeah, has he? He's played 10 games with the under-23s, but overall, very disappointing season for Luke Shaw, and that's quite telling, to be honest. A couple of first teamers, like we mentioned, Carrick and Young, dropping down to the under-23s as well. I'm not sure it's just because the season pretty much just concluded. Young must have been used a little bit. But again, majority of appearances in the under-23 league. How about Carrick, who was so highly rated by Sir Alex Ferguson, but probably because he's going to retire, as well as the current squad that he's got. Sent him down to the under-23s as well, so that's quite interesting. Pretty standard ruthless from Sir Alex Ferguson. But let's have a look at some other stats such as goals. You've got Lukaku, already mentioned, top goal scorer. Sanchez, very decent season, 18 goals and 14 assists is as good as it gets, I suppose, for a winger. Mata, very good as well, double figures in both stats. Let's have a look at where Mata mostly played. He can play on the right or on the attacking midfield, and looks like mainly Sir Alex Ferguson's given the respect of letting him play in his preferred position. He's definitely repaid his faith. Rashford, quite a decent season for him considering his, he's on the wing and not in his best position, I suppose. But let's see if where he's mainly been used. So striker mostly, left, right, central midfield and attacking midfield. So Sir Alex Ferguson quite comfortable to just shift him all around. But as you can tell, not too comfortable anywhere else other than a striker in truth, and you'd argue maybe he could have grabbed a couple more goals since he did play as a striker. But again, if you just have a look at his appearances, most of them were as a substitute, so it makes sense that starting 11 appearances and 11 goals, quite a decent return overall as well, I suppose. Pogba though, 10 goals, 5 assists, not a bad season for him either. Let's have a look at where mainly used as a central midfielder, so no surprises there. Assists, Matic is the one that leads it in the league as well as in Manchester United's squad. Blind doing quite well. Let's have a look at where Blind might have been used. Mainly as a left back, so that's interesting too. But again, Sir Alex Ferguson very comfortable to shift his players around and use every bit of their versatility. So who's been the best performance? Sanchez. Mata's quite up there. Jonas, despite his low level of performances appearances. De Gea quite up there. Lukaku, Matic, generally quite a few good performance from the rest of the squad. I mean, just about these players here, you could maybe say it's about 8 players. not doing too well. Zlatan Ibrahimovic has barely made an appearance. That's quite interesting. Let's have a look at the low appearances. Rojo, Romero, Ibrahimovic, Herrera just came in the winter, as well as Jonas. Rashford not trusted too much, and neither was Martial. Darmian, Christian Pavon, but again that was winter. Herrera not too much either. Jones, Smalling. Makes sense, I suppose, that Sir Alex Ferguson relied on his better performance. But it looks like they did play with the 4-2-3-1. It kind of shows here, but we can have a look at the tactics as well. He's kind of, tried to play everyone in their most natural positions and gone with the best 11, I suppose, that he's got available. Not in this last team he's used, because this is only the last team, not the most consistent one. But again, quite interesting from Sir Alex Ferguson. He's done really well. And he's made some weird decisions, but we can have a look at the schedule. So let's actually have a look at the overall competition. So I'm sure you noticed there they did win the European Super Cup against Real Madrid, so quite a good result there. Just a trophy to his name, as well as the Premier League. Knocked out in the Champions League by Manchester City, which was won by Manchester City, so Pep should still be there despite just about qualifying for Champions League. But no shame in losing to the eventual winners. Of course, it's disappointing to lose to the rivals, but again, reaching the semi-final was a huge task in and of itself. The League Cup never really matters to the United board or necessarily the United fans, but knocked out in the quarterfinals by Watford's quite disappointing. You'd expect them to have gone a little bit further. The FA Cup probably even worse. It's more of an important competition, and they were knocked out in the third round against Stoke City, and I think the third round is pretty much the first round that Manchester United enter in the first place. Eventually won to Chelsea as well, so they didn't lose it to the eventual winners or anything. So not a bad season. Actually a really good one. Of course, Premier League is always the expected requirement, or what's really needed, and all other cup competitions is kind of like luck of the draw, I suppose. But again, a couple of areas that he might have necessarily done a little bit better in, I suppose. Again, maybe if he had more time, he could have developed the squad more in his favour, but either way, done really well. So let's have a look at the schedule and see if there's any key results. Of course, beating Madrid 3-0 is quite convincing and quite a good result. Sanchez, Pogba and Herrera all on the score sheet. Everton's a nice little win there as well, 4-1. Southampton, Burnley all very convincingly beaten. Leicester away, a draw away to Leicester is not too bad, but again, you'd expect United to win. Beat Basel in the Champions League, Brighton in the Premier League, Walsall in the League Cup, West Brom, Red Bull. Quite consistent from Sir Alex Ferguson's side, in truth, and beaten Huddersfield convincingly, but they've lost to Bournemouth 2-1 with Joshua King, the former Manchester United man, coming back to haunt Sir Alex Ferguson. Beat Real Madrid in the Champions League group stage again, 3-1. Swansea 5-1. It looks like when United win, they win big as well. Not necessarily too much of a fan of clean sheets, even though they kept, quite a bit. But in general, when they score big, they do tend to concede a goal. Just a goal, really, not two. So it looks like Sir Alex Ferguson's still keeping up with his usual attacking intent, I suppose. Swansea 5-1, Hull 2-0. Manchester City's an important one, and he managed to win that one 2-1 with Rashford grabbing 2 of his 11 goals, I think, against the Citizens. Madrid finally got their revenge, 4-0, Ronaldo scoring a hat-trick and Benzema on the score sheet as well. Crystal Palace, Watford, all expected to be beaten. Basel, nice little result against Arsenal, that's another important one, of course. West Ham, drawing is always not good, but of course when it's away from home it's a bit more acceptable. Javier Hernandez again scoring, and considering that the Valencia got sent off within the 4th minute, quite a decent result in truth. Against Liverpool, another win with the Lukaku scoring in the first minutes. Sir Alex Ferguson's doing really well in the big games, and having said that, beat Tottenham as well. Again, Bailly sent off in the 52nd minute, and Martial didn't get the winner until the 90th. It's a very classical Sir Alex Ferguson side for sure. Chelsea though, their first top 6 loss, I suppose. Drinkwater, Morata on the score sheet. It looks like Sir Alex Ferguson's former players love to score against him. But United definitely have a mean streak in the side, with Sanchez getting sent off in the 75th minute. Lukaku actually opened the scoring for United, but they couldn't really hold on, and Chelsea turned it around before the first half ended. Stoke, a nice little 1-0 win. We already talked about Watford and losing to them. Newcastle, convincing win. Southampton, scraped by Everton. Draw against Burnley. Looks like all of almost all of United's draws by the looks of it came away from home, so it's again kind of acceptable. Pogba opened the scoring within 3 minutes through a penalty, but couldn't hold on to the result, I suppose. 1-0 against Leicester, Brighton, West Brom, all pretty decent results. But again, Huddersfield with that away draw once more. Lukaku on the score sheet still for his team. Bournemouth beaten convincingly, they got their revenge there. Celtic beaten 5-0 on aggregate in the Champions League. City to draw at home, I guess is not too bad considering that United beat them away from home rather convincingly through Rashford. But yeah, Matic on the score sheet there, De Bruyne scoring on the 18th minute, but neither team could really get the winner. Palace, Watford scraped by, beating Arsenal again. Arsene Wenger, I'm not sure if he's still at the club, but he should be. And yeah, another good result against the top 6 opposition. Who's on the score sheet this time? Mata and Jonas getting an important goal there. Madrid beaten in the Champions League quarterfinals. So it looks like United and Madrid went head to head plenty of times, and United did have the best of Champions League draws, I suppose. But either way, good results. 1-0 at home and away from home. Rashford grabbing the goal there. Carvajal getting sent off, but Sanchez scored the 66th minute winner. Liverpool draw, but they were away from home, so not a bad result again. Sanchez scoring and Salah grabbing a goal himself. West Ham 2-2. That's a bit of a bad result. Looks like West Ham sort of survived not being beaten by Sir Alex Ferguson's United, which is kind of the only team to have done that. City, the first leg just did not go in United's favour. It was decent enough to grab the one away goal, but once City grabbed their own away goal themselves in the 83rd minute, just kind of fell apart for them, isn't it? So they could have held on to that 2-0 result. They actually would have gone through, I think. Would have been 3-3 on aggregate and United with a away goal, but Sergio Aguero ruining United's hopes despite Delph getting sent off. City had a crazy minute there by the looks of it, but Lukaku did everything he can as well. Stoke draw at home. Stoke are always going to be tough, but considering they're at home, United should have won this game, but didn't cost them the title. They managed to beat Chelsea in the second last game of the season through Sanchez and Herrera. And Newcastle scraped by them with Lukaku on the score sheet again. So Lukaku hugely important for Sir Alex Ferguson's team, and overall just done really well. Let's have a look at, I think, Sir Alex Ferguson again. Just want to see something here. He's gone with the 4-2-3-1. I think he still has plans to retire. He wants to retire from his hands-on role, so I don't know what to do about that. Maybe either simming it the second time worked in his favour, or maybe a young Sir Alex Ferguson would have done really well with this Manchester United side, but probably at his current age, past his prime, the game seems to have suggested that he wouldn't have done really that well. I'm not sure why he still wants to retire. I think I even selected or deselected his wish to retire, so it's a bit weird that he still wants to. But he's definitely done really well. Let's have a look at his tactics. So we did look at the preferred formation, but playing styles mixed, coaching styles mentals, playing mentality is attacking, so that's interesting. Pressing styles closing down, marking styles mixed. So he doesn't necessarily play short or direct, but he does definitely play attacking, and he does like his teams to press by the looks of it. Tends to spend on youth, this all sort of makes sense. Tends not to select a substitute goalkeeper, seems a bit weird, and not to zonal mark is definitely true. But overall, stats are really good. 52 years of age, would have won the Premier League apparently for Manchester United. But yeah, I mean, if he scraped it, I would have been like, okay, fair enough. But it is a bit of a weird season overall in the Premier League, since Arsenal and Liverpool all finished ahead of Manchester City. Normally in FM, Manchester United and Manchester City are the ones who go head to head. Chelsea seem to do quite well in FM as well. Tottenham not doing too poorly in general. But this season seems to be a bit of a mixed one. So it looks like Sir Alex Ferguson really did mix things up in the league once he came back. But definitely very interesting, experiment. And Arsenal just missing out because they had one too many losses, I suppose. And both 4 of those losses came against the Manchester club and one against their fierce rivals, Tottenham. So it looks like Arsene Wenger did quite well at Arsenal as well. But yeah, I mean, you have to take it with a pinch of salt, I suppose. It's just a game. Sometimes you can sim this with the exact same Sir Alex Ferguson, same age, same everything, and he might not have necessarily done the same, but it's interesting how he's done well and you know who he's used and who he's sent down to the under 23s as well. But would have been more interesting to see it long term. I'm not sure whether he still desires to retire. If I have a look at his profile again, I don't think he'll necessarily say retiring, so I don't know how to actually have a look at it. It should say here, I think, retiring. If I have a look at Zlatan, maybe. Where's Zlatan? He says he's retired. If we select him, no, it doesn't say he's retiring here. But what does it say? Yeah, plans to retire. But it gives a specific date. So I suppose Sir Alex Ferguson plans on retiring, but isn't going to right away. So maybe we could sim this. Let me know in the comment section, of course, if you want to go further, another season perhaps, and see whether, you know, in the summer where Sir Alex Ferguson could make more changes to the squad, who he would sell and who he'd bring in. But again, of course, that's kind of it for the episode. So if you did enjoy it, then please hit the like button and subscribe for more Daily Football Manager 2018 content. And of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, guys, thank you all very much for watching.